This is not a replacement for the Hightower LT. There have been some people like not so sure about the Megatower name, but I feel like that was the perfect name because that's exactly what this bike is. Hi, I'm Matt with Jenson USA, and we've been throwing some dirt on a brand new Santa Cruz Megatower, and we'd like to share with you some ride impressions. And I think the first thing that we were struck with is this is not just a new version of the Hightower LT. That bike was 150 millimeters of travel, and while this one is 160 at both ends, it really is a different character. It's a whole lot different bike. And I think what we're finding is mountain bikes are changing, and we're having bikes that are categorized and they're really great at a specific thing, and that's where this bike comes in. I've been such a big fan of the Hightower and the Hightower LT, and one of the things I liked was they had this really poppy, fun, playful nature. And this thing is just a big enduro racer beast, and it is grounded, and it really sucks up all the little imperfections and little hits in the trail, but it doesn't have quite the same playful nature. This thing is a whole lot more business-like. Whenever I went out and rode it at first, it took me a minute to get used to that on my local trails that are a little bit more cross-country oriented. And it took a couple rides and getting out into some really rough terrain, where some stuff where there's a lot more speed involved, before I started to understand the bike. And that's the first thing that I was struck with is the faster you go, the more you're committed, the rougher it is, the more this bike really starts to shine. And it's hard to understand what it does at walking speed or on more cross-country oriented trails, but when you get into really steep, shooty stuff, it's really great at that. And that's pretty much what they've designed this bike for. And when you look at just starting with the angles, you know, it's got a 76.3 degree seat tube angle, and that's designed obviously whenever the going gets steep and you need to get up on top of the pedals. It keeps you from compressing down into the suspension travel. It makes this bike climb pretty well in the saddle. Doesn't climb great out of the saddle, but that's not really what it's designed for. It's got a 75 degree seat tube angle, or head tube angle. So again, it's not going to feel super nimble, but man, does it feel confident when you're charging hard into rock gardens and getting into some rooted, rough terrain. So the bike, and especially, again, the faster you go, the more it really feels natural and makes you want to go for it. It's also a longer cockpit like we're seeing, and that's really key when you're using a steep seat angle, is to lengthen the front center. So this large bike here has a 470 millimeter reach. So I felt like the cockpit was appropriate. Things felt pretty well balanced. The rear triangle, they're using a strategy where you can flip a chip at the rear axle and convert it from 435 to 445 millimeters for the chainstay length, which is pretty cool. I think if you're using this as a park bike, you want something playful, you might want to leave it in that 435. If you wanted to use this as an enduro race bike and you just wanted a whole lot of stability, you can back that out to 445 millimeters and get something that's going to feel really planted. In terms of the suspension, now you'll see that they've gone to a lower link driven suspension design here with the VPP strategy that they use, and it really has changed the feel. And that's really the biggest difference that we have between this and the Hightower bikes is while those bikes feel super playful and poppy, this bike is going to feel a little bit more dead, but at the same time it is going to feel just so much more planted, so much smoother. It makes the travel, even though it's only a difference of 10 millimeters in terms of suspension travel versus the LT, it's so much more accessible. You're going to get deeper into that travel, and it really is what makes it feel plush and gives it a lot different character. There's some cool things that they've added into the frame design in this generation too. I really like that there's this pad on the down tube for packing that thing up on a tailgate pad. They've got a new chainstay protector there that's got ribs on it that really cuts down on the chatter and keeps this bike running nice and quiet. There's a little fender that's designed down here to keep all the mud and muck off of the rear shock. And it's just really well thought out, well designed. I like all the cable routing. It's super clean how it goes from the main triangle to the rear triangle. This bike is going to come in two colorways. There's this matte black, and there's also a bright green. That's a pretty good looking bike as well that popped. In terms of the kit, they're going to only do this bike in carbon. So there's a CR version. This is the CS version that comes in at $53.99, and probably the sweet spot in terms of value and performance. You're getting a complete GX Eagle package. It's got a Fox 36 performance fork up front. It's got a RockShox Super Deluxe shock at the back. You're getting a reverb post with the underbar lever, and really nothing to complain about with part spec. It's got a solid wheel set with DT hubs and race face Arc 30 rims. Maxxis DHF up front, Maxxis DHR2 in the back. So great tires right out of the gate. So really solid bike. I had a lot of fun on it. And again, I think if there was anything that I were to impress on people, it is this thing is amazing for what it was designed for. So if you're an enduro racer, if you already have a trail bike, or just you live someplace that's really steep and shooty, you need something with a lot of capability. It is amazing in that arena. If you're looking for like the one bike that will kind of do everything for you, but you want a bigger travel 29er, man, that Hightower LT is a great bike, and it's great that those are still around. There's a lot of those out there for sale still. So I would look hard at that bike. I really still believe in that bike. If you'd like to see them in person, come over to our Corona store, where we have one of the largest collections of Santa Cruz bikes in the whole country. Or give us a shout, talk to one of our gear advisors. They'd be glad to give you a little bit more intel if you have more questions. Thanks a lot, and keep coming.